Hey, what's going on, everybody? For our today's talk, I'm Selvira Andini from Andalas University, and now you're watching Talkative Pods. It's the show with so many interesting questions about lifestyle and productivity. And today, we are joined by Sabrina Siti Halimah and Hanif Restian Pratikno. So, before we begin our podcast today, I would like to know who is Hanif and who is Sabrina. Can you tell us a bit about yourself? You can start first, Sabrina.
Hello, Selfie. My name is Sabrina. Nice to meet you. I'm 19 years old from Andalas University, majoring in environmental engineering. I grew up in Salonto. That's it.
Alright, thank you. Now we know who Sabrina is. Next up, we have Hanif. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sorry, thank you so much, Selfie, for this opportunity. I guess, first of all, thank you so much, guys, for having me in this podcast. It's real nice to meet you. And, my name is Hanif Restian, but you just can call me Hanif. I am a sophomore political science student at Andalas University. And, I think, my biggest interest right now is, the tendency to actually talk about that. I think that was just really interesting, especially it is really close to us, into our daily lives, I guess. Yeah.
Talking about productivity, first, what do you think about productivity? Maybe we can start from Hanif.
Alright, yes, talking about productivity, I truly agree with that. Before we move on to what is the productivity is, essentially we have to know what is the productivity. I think the word productivity can be separated by the words productive. I think just talking about the definition. Essentially I think basically productivity is for me personally, from my own personal definitions, is productivity is the things when you do some things and you're spending your time well. So I guess when you do a certain job, when you do certain task or assignment, when you think that you spend your time well on that, you really produce something on that. I think that is the thing when you can really can be called as a product. So I guess back again, but it's really dependent on the person of the people.
How about you, Sabrina?
Productivity is a concept that's widely misunderstood. Productivity is the first measure that defines growth in one's living standards. When you work on the right things, you will get more and better results. That's how we realize growth. So improve your personal productivity and see what effect it has on your work, energy, mind, rewards, happiness, etc.
Yes, I guess that was really interesting viewpoints of productivity from both of you. And next up, I think we know in the past 2 years really having the COVID-19 pandemic situation, which is we have to do everything online, work from home, literally got less of our relaxing time, even just watching some Netflix series or playing some games. So do you think is there any correlation pandemic and productivity?
Productive means that someone is able to produce a work that has benefits for others' life, either directly or indirectly. Productivity can be in the form of goods, work, writing, music, useful activity, arts, and much more. Whereas a pandemic is a condition when a disease is widespread throughout the world. During a pandemic, there are so many people who have lost productivity due to too long silence or biased activities doing is very limited. Of course, this will affect the level of imagination that somebody will have. Besides being at home for a long time, doing activities that do not vary, there is no direct social interaction and there are limitations in carrying out the activity has been shown to increase the risk of stress that occurs in public. Things like this could most likely be prevented by interesting the intention productive activities in a person so that boredom doesn't occur in him or her. Besides, by being productive, a person can also feel the positive result of his activities, both for himself and for other people around him.
Yes, talking about the pandemic and the productivity. So I guess like when we talk about in the past 2 years, like we have very little time to actually have a relaxed time, to actually have a time for, let's say like just enjoying like watching some Netflix series or playing some games. So the main differences, I guess, like when it comes to like everything online, is that you have to like basically 24/7. So I guess like everyone just have it, and yeah, it just like you can't lie by saying like you having like so many how do I say free time to actually do something productive in your life, especially. So I guess yeah, the main difference is, I think, when it comes to like physical activity, like you work from office, you work from school and something like that. I guess like it's truly clear that you have some certain hours to actually get done with the job. So but when it comes to like the online activities, you actually have like when you are working on something and then you finish it and you want to get some rest, or you can just want to watch some series, I guess like you still kind of feel like you have to do something that really productive. I guess the more productive than you used to be to actually like enjoying your actual time. So I guess that is the biggest correlations between those two. I think like when it comes to the pandemic and when it comes to the productivity, I guess like the pandemic, it's like entirely giving a massive impact, I guess, on the productivity, especially for how the people see the kind of productivity, how the people like perceptions on saying how the activity should they do in their work from home kind of activities. So
Okay, Hanif, as an teenagers, how do you see those things? Is there any kind of toxicity inside the things we call productivity?
yeah, seeing the things that it should be, we could actually see like in actually, if I could be honest, like in the every single things that we can see, or we could figure out that there's some kind of toxicity, I'm sorry, in the every single thing, if I could say it. But the way we actually define it, it truly matters actually. But when we see like the internet and the some productivity and the toxicity, I guess like when it comes to the productives, the thing is that especially in the work from home situations, in the pandemic, over the situations, I guess like when people just want to do something, like produce something, they want to do the assignment, they want to like besides like they just create an assignment, they have to do something like actually productive, like say learning some new languages, like learning some new skills and something like that. But I think when people have the tendency to think like when they are actually relaxing, when they are like watching some series or playing some games, they do think like they are actually not productive. I think there is some certain problems, or I think that in certain that how we called it toxicity in there. So the things I want to say is that when you are actually productive, you don't have to do something which like put a pressure in you, but like a lot of heavily impact on what you are going to enjoy some things. So I guess the things I want to say is that the kind of toxicity in the productivity is that like thinking that you have to do some certain things and denying that relaxing is also productive. So I think like when we are going to back into the definitions from the studies, like from the experts also, like productivity is actually and essentially is spending your time well. So whenever like you are relaxing, it can also call as a productive. And when it comes to the internet, like when you're thinking like the free time is actually, you can fill it by actually full time learning something new, or learning some skills or languages, or you have to do things, you have to do this, you have to do that, and you're just like like forgetting about like time for you to actually meditate, time for you to actually relaxing and enjoying time chit chat with families or with your friends. I guess that is when the productivity is like getting its level of toxicity.
That was really mind-blowing, really. Sabrina, do you think the internet have the huge role on these problems?
Yes, of course. With the internet, toxic productivity that occurs is closely related to everything called digitalization, which makes the impact of toxic productivity more real and can be overcome with creativity.
Okay, I think we have already dived deep into the discussion. If we observe, there are actually five main variables, which are productivity, toxicity, teenagers, internet, and lastly, creativity. Do you think that those five variables giving impact each others? Maybe we can start from Sabrina first.
Yes, creativity is closely related to teenagers. Teenagers also implement their creativity by creating content or anything using the internet. And we all know that, as we have discussed earlier, that the internet is also closely related to toxicity. So yeah, it's all connection.
Alright, I think the last question and the last thing that I'm really curious about this topic is that what is the best way that we could have to become creative with productivity to deal with internet negativity? Maybe we can hear the answer from Hani first.
So yeah, it actually make it easier for us, but at the same time, it's also like really complex when we talk about it. So let's talk about the productivity and the toxicity. As I mentioned before, like also with the internet correlations, when we're like seeing so many things on the internet and we can just filter which informations that really work for us. So we basically things that when we are going to be productive, we have to do like a lot of things that really produce some things like learning new skills, and they don't really appreciate the free time that we have to actually rest, to actually relax, and actually spending our time well. So it's basically back into the definitions of the productivity is spending your time well. So actually there's some kind of toxicity in the productivity. So I guess like that is like the vast misconceptions on the people on how to actually being productive in the middle of the pandemic, especially, and after the creativity. So I think like when we are becoming some kind of creatives, we actually can be productive with an efficient way. We can actually manage our time well. We can actually manage our emotion well. So in the end of the day, it's not just our like, physical things that contribute to it well, but also how could our mentality, our like mental health, mental states, also can be recognizable well. The most essential things, so the most important things that we can have in here is that when you want to become the creative with the productivity, you have to understand what is the productivity is. And after all the explanations that we've already had before in the discussions, we've already recognized what is the productivity is and how we could actually avoid the negativity from the productivity itself. So I guess once we understand about that, we could start like become creative with that kind of productivity. So the things I want to say is that when we are becoming productive, there's some certain ways so many ways that we can be creative with that. We can use the productivity as a tool for us to manage our time well. We can use the productivity to actually deal with these so many complex problems in our life, especially in the middle of the pandemic right now. And the things I want to say, like when we all have that set together in ourselves, the internet negativity, such as like, some kind of like hustle culture, like when you just spend so many times in the social media and something like that, you can also be dealing with that with the kind of the productivity concept that you have already planned in yourself. So I guess like it becomes easier to reach the kind of becoming creative to deal with this internet negativity when you really understand about what the productivity is. So I guess that is the things that have a mainly really great correlations between those two things.
So that's all about our discussion today. Thank you Hanif and Sabrina for the points and opinion. I really appreciate that. For the last, thank you so much everyone and see you next time. Bye bye.